God's greatest gift to men is women. Even though at times it could feel like God's greatest punishment for us. And I'll explain what I mean. The At least for me, women can bring me here to the lowest of the lows, but to the same degree, they can also bring me way up here to the highest of the highs. Reflecting on my life, I can see that with my relationship with women. And it's not necessarily, exes or anything like that. For sure it can be in relationships with, girlfriend, significant other, whatever you want to call it. But also, with with family members and with coworkers and just any type of relationship with women. I've seen and experienced that. The only way I was able to become aware of it was by actually trying to learn more about women and yeah, and just kind of how they work. It started actually after a breakup that I had. And what drove me to look into this more was in that relationship. It was it was short lived, but in that relationship, I felt like I was doing enough, and I did feel like I was trying my best. But yet, in some way, and for some reason, it still did not work out. And so I can't. When that relationship had ended, I was I was almost at a disbelief because I didn't see what I had necessarily done wrong. I'm not saying I was Mr. Perfect or anything like that, but I also didn't see, grounds for that relationship to end. So, like I said before, I'm at least smart enough to realize when I don't know something. So I was like, okay, well, clearly it didn't work out, and I don't know the reason why. However, though, I bet if I picked up a book on dating or on women, I would come to understand something that I did not previously know. And I was right in that assumption. And so, after spending some time trying to learn about dating, learn about women, learn about relationships, just learn about that dynamic in general, I've come to learn a lot. I feel like it's helped me so much in my life. And I can see how, when I did not have that understanding, how it made my life more difficult. And I can see when other men that I talk to, when they do not have that understanding, how it makes their life more difficult as well. The first thing that I came to understand is men and women are not identical. We're not the same thing. There are similarities, 100%. But it'd be very naive to say that there are no differences. I think that you do nothing but shoot yourself in the foot when you hold that assumption. The main difference that has helped me, or one of the main differences, is just how we think. Women are more emotionally evolved than men. And men usually think and speak more straightforward and logically than women. Here's what I mean. If I go and let's just say, I tell my date, I want to cancel, reschedule, or whatever because my head hurts. There's a good chance that I want to cancel because my head actually hurts. Let's just say the date were to tell me that. Is there a chance that her head actually hurts? Yes. But I would say there's an even higher chance that there's something else going on. Maybe she's not feeling it. Maybe something else happened in the day. But again, she's more or less just telling me she doesn't really want to go. So keeping one, that in mind. Two, which just plays into the dynamic between the male and female. The male is essentially the bull, and the woman is essentially like this liquid gold that gets poured into the bowl. However, before she can pour into that, she has to ensure that there's no cracks, that this bowl is solid and will not waste and leak out any of this valuable gold that she puts into it. And so, consciously or subconsciously, that is one of the responsibilities of the female, is to challenge the male. And again, she's only doing this so that way she can be sure that you are worth pouring into. Give you a perfect example. I was asked at about 11 o'clock at night to walk somebody to their house from their car because they did not feel safe. And I'm like 15-20 minutes away. I'm literally about to go to bed. When I'm being asked this, initial response is like, I'm about to go to bed. Not really. I do not want to. That's just the honest truth. I did not want to, as it was late, had work in the morning, whole shebang. But then, I sat there and reflected, and I looked at myself. Hopefully the lighting's good. And I realized that, well, this is kind of her responsibility. And whether she may realize it or not, is to test the masculine. Now, she wanted me to walk her home because, she obviously did not feel safe. And so that was the thing. I initially said no. And that did make her upset. And what she said to me was, "That's fine. I don't want you to go." But I could tell that her emotion and attitude was different. And she was saying this now because she was upset. And rightfully so. So after realizing, she was testing me. This is a test of the female challenging the male. If I fail this test, I know what this means. And she knows what it means. So once she said that she did not want me to go, and once I decided, you know what, I saw this as a test, and I'm going to take it on. Once she said those things, like I said, I do not want to go. I told her, okay, I'll see you when you get home. And she was like, no, I don't want you to go. And I'll say, again, I'll see you when you get home. Fast forward to now when she pulls up to her house. She's still acting mad, by the way. However, the minute she sees me, you can see that all just melt away. Because even though she told me damn near 5 times that she did not want me to come, she really did. And when she saw me at her house, right then and there, I essentially passed the test. She checked for leaks and she saw that there was none. And as a result, she was able to pour her love, her liquid gold, into me. I just think that's so important for both men and women to keep in mind. When I speak to any of my guys, I see that they're fighting with their women. A lot of times, it's somewhat a scenario like that. And again, like, we as men, we have to keep in mind that is what they're there for. They're there to challenge us. But as all men know, there is no feeling like a woman's love. I'm not a female, but as I tell any female, my sisters or whoever, I say don't be afraid to challenge your man. Don't be afraid to poke at the bear a little bit. Now, obviously, there's a line, and it's a dance almost, or it's almost it's a dance. It's give and take, You're gonna get close to each other. You're gonna get close to stepping on some toes. You may occasionally step on some toes, but you guys are agreeing to dance, so continue the dance. So, on that point of the female challenging the male, and even you can look at that same example that I had just mentioned, most of the time, let me backtrack. A challenge does not always have to mean a fight. Sometimes when, especially the more time that has been put into the relationship, a challenge can, yes, lead to a fight. But the two are not always necessarily the same. What I've come to realize about fights between men and women, unpopular take, but I'm sorry, men, I think most of the time when there is a fight, I think most of the time it's the man's fault. And the reason why I say that is because most of the time when there's a fight, and if you look hard enough, you can see it's true. Most of the time when there's a fight, it's usually because the woman is not feeling loved enough. And, once I came to understand that, again, it became clear as day. I've come to realize that most of the time when I'm fighting with a woman, again, does not just have to be a significant other, but most of the time when I'm fighting with a woman, they're not feeling that love. And usually the quickest way to end the fight and actually, come to move past it is by now just overpouring more love. Fellas, I won't even generalize this. I'll just say to my own my own experience with that situation. The way I handled that was, one, accepting the challenge, but two, even when she was trying to push me away, I just tried to outpour my love. And I did that by still showing up. So that was a kind of a challenge that turned into a fight, but you can see the dynamic with that, and now hopefully have a better understanding on some situations. And I think that for us as men, it is something important to keep in mind. When a man and a woman are flowing, it's just so complementary. There's nothing like it. There's a sense of completeness and wholeness when a man and woman are coming together and have that love there. To me, that might be the closest thing to God that we have on this earth, aside from creation. That connection, that a love, that energy that's there with a man and woman coming together, it's divine. I think that there's no other way to put it. But when you're essentially working with one of the strongest forces in the universe, yeah, it's it's gonna be a mother effort, right? It's not going to be easy, but man, it's worth it.